Hello, History 131 students. Hope all is well and you are remaining safe. Okay, we have finished chapter 5 on the Greeks. The Greeks had established a culture called Hellenism. They had fought among themselves, weakened themselves to be invaded by the Macedonian. Philip of Macedonia conquered the Greeks. He was assassinated, and his young son, Alexander, came to the throne, and he spent 10 years conquering the known world. In the process, he conquered the famed Persian Empire that was created by Cyrus the Great. Now, upon his death, the empire was thrown into chaos, civil wars. Eventually, the empire was divided among his three generals. The Ptolemies got Egypt, Garnatar got Asia Minor, and Seleucus received Mesopotamia. But upon his death, the empire is divided and is weakened. And to the west of Greece stood a colony called Rome, and it superseded the Greeks in the Mediterranean basin. So what do we know about the world of the Romans, okay? Let's do the geography quickly. To the west of Greece lies the boot-shaped peninsula called Italy. It occupies the center of the Mediterranean basin. The Italian peninsula literally divides the Mediterranean Sea into half. Italy's climate is similar to Greece. Winters are dry, and winters are rainy. Summers are dry, hot and dry. In the north, Italy is protected by the Apennine mountain range, which breaks off from the Alps and form a natural barrier. The Apennine Mountains retarded but did not prevent people from penetrating Italy from the north. Most of the peninsula is mountainous. In that southward course, the Apennine leaves two broad plains and fertile plains at that. The plains are called Latinia and Campania. Between these two plains flows a river, the Tiber River. And this is where Rome was established, on the Italian peninsula, west of Greece. And the movement of people into this area between 1200 and 753 BCE are also Indo-Europeans. We've been talking about them, starting with the Persians, the Aryans, the Greeks, and now the Romans. Indo-European, Caucasians, people that originated close to or nearby the Caucasus mountain range that separates Asia from Europe. But when they got there were people already there, and they were called the Etruscans. And the Etruscans ruled early Rome. The people there was basically pastoral people, but eventually the Etruscans were overthrown, and in 509 BCE, the Romans overthrew the Etruscan king and established a republic. Now, a definition of a republic. A republic means representative democracy. You ask yourself a question about our country, America. Do we live in a democracy? Yes and no, but it is a republic form of government. It is not controlled by a majority vote. As you know from the 2016 election, Electoral College elected Donald Trump president, whereas Hillary Clinton had the majority of vote. That's because we live in a republic instead of a democracy. We do not live in a pure democracy like the Greeks who had established it in the beginning, but a republican form. So notice how the Romans are building on what is laid by the Greeks. And by establishing this republic, that means a representative democracy. Well, who represented this government? They had an executive, and of course, they had a legislative body, and they had a judiciary, three branches of government. What does that tell you? That when our founding fathers got ready to establish this country, they looked to Rome as a model. We also have three branches of government: executive, legislative, and judiciary. So, the Roman Republic. Once the Republic was established, it went about conquering the remaining of Italy. They did something different that the Greeks didn't do. The people they will conquer, they will give them citizenship, therefore becoming a part of the Republic. The Romans established a confederation, network of roads, etc., etc. But they began to grow. They became imperialistic. The Senate, which is the legislative body, came to hold a tremendous amount of power within the government of Rome. And this is what created a conflict. We call it the struggle of order, because of the social division within the Roman Republic system. At the top of the social class was a group called the patricians. They controlled the Senate, the executive branch, and the magistrate, the judges, even though they made up less than 1% of the population. The vast majority of people in Rome were plebeians. The general public, these were your artisans, your merchants, your everyday man on the street. And of course, you had slaves. So you had patricians at the top, large landowners, and governors. And the largest population were plebeians. So this led to a struggle of order where the plebeians demand to be treated similar, equally to the patricians. And this struggle of social organization went on for many years. The problem was that the patricians were creating wars for the Roman legions, which were made up mainly of the plebeians. Well, the plebeians decided to lay their arms down and not fight any more wars that were created by the Senate unless their grievance were heard. Eventually, because of this threat, the struggle of order was resolved. After it dragged on for hundreds of years, the government established a lower body, a house, a centurion, and gave the plebeians a representative, someone to speak for them, a tribune. Now, the council was the Senate representative and administered the government, but now the plebeians had a representative, the tribune. But the major thing was forced. The patrician had to codify the law, and they did it on clay tablets and mounted them in the middle of Rome. So anyone that could read Latin could understand what the law was all about. So once Rome was united, the plebeians and the patrician, they began to conquer the rest of the Mediterranean. And this brought them in conflict with a colony that had been established by the Phoenicians in Tunisia, across the Mediterranean Sea in North Africa. That colony was Carthage. Rome and Carthage would fight 3 wars. They're called the Punic Wars. The one that stands out, but let's talk about the first war. The first war, the Romans defeated the Carthaginians and left. The Carthaginian was upset and they looked for someone to lead them. against the Romans. And in 218 BCE, they selected a leader called Hannibal, and he led them through the Second Punic War. Hannibal had did a feat that is admired and studied in war colleges around the world today. He crossed the Strait of Gibraltar. That's that narrow strip of land that separates the Atlantic from the Mediterranean, from North Africa into Spain, across the what's those mountains, the Pyrenees, and came down, crossed the Alps, and invaded Rome from the north. He laid siege to the city. The city was on life support. They could not come in or go out. They was eating rats and other animals for food. Starvation was real. However, one of the Roman generals escaped. Scipio Africana sailed to Naples and then later to Sicily and mounted a naval attack and forced Hannibal to lift the siege on Rome and return back to Africa to defend his homeland of Carthage. There, the Romans defeated Hannibal and his group at the Battle of Zambia. I think it's 202 BCE. Rome decisively defeated his force and the war was over. Now they forced the Carthaginians to pay an indemnity taxes to Rome, but they did not destroy the city. Later on, Carthage rebelled and rose up, and the Third Punic War came in existence. This time, Rome defeated the Carthaginians, burned the city, and claimed the province. And they named this province Africa. The word Africa is a Latin word that means land of the blacks. That's where the word Africa comes from, the Romans. Now, what else do I want to tell you? So the Roman imperialism, that means expanding their borders, is in full blown. But there's a problem. Wealth discrepancy. Farmers would go off and fight Rome's wars and return back, and their farms had been confiscated by the patricians, and they were forced to move to the city of Rome, thus creating a vast urban poor population. And we're going to talk more about this population later. But this growing inequality and unrest led the leaders in the Senate to speculate that changes were needed. And there arose two brothers, the Gracchus brothers, Tiberius and Gaius. They proposed a redistribution of land to the urban poor to improve the living condition within Rome and the Republic. Guess what happened to Tiberius advocating equal treatment of all Roman citizens? He was assassinated in the Senate. His brother Gaius followed him, and proposed the same thing, a redistribution of wealth, redistribution of land. Guess what happened to him? He was also assassinated. So we see order and decline and eventually the fall of the Roman Republic, a representative democracy. This chaos, the assassination of the Gracchus brothers, led to the Roman army taking a role in the government of Rome, thus led the march on Rome, and led to the establishment of the first triumvirate. Let's see, who are they? Gracchus, Pompey, and Julius Caesar. That means rule by three. Gracchus, if you remember, you've seen the series on Spartacus. He's the one that killed Spartacus, the man that led the largest slave uprising in the history of the world. Gratius was also the richest man in the world. He loved gold. He's out in Persia fighting the Persians, and they capture him and they force him to drink liquid gold. So he dies by ingesting liquid gold. It's a strange phenomenon. Pompey hears of Gratius' demise. He escapes Rome, ends up in Sicily. Julius Caesar, the third partner, traces Pompey down and have him assassinated. Now there's only one ruler of the Roman Republic, and his name is Julius Caesar, who had made his fame by fighting in the Gallic Wars in France, the Gauls. But now he is the sole ruler of the Roman Republic. However, Julius Caesar, like all men, were weak towards a woman's flesh. I put it that way. The Ptolemy last ruler in Egypt was a lady named Cleopatra. Julius Caesar paid her a visit, fell in love with Cleopatra. Supposedly she bore him a son. We don't know for sure. But Julius Caesar now established a relationship with Cleopatra. The senators that he had disregarded, that now their powers had shifted to Julius Caesar, led to an uprising, and of course Julius Caesar was assassinated in the halls of the Senate. The people that makes the laws were breaking the laws. And of course, this led to another conflict. Who would succeed Julius Caesar? Many believed that Charles Antony, his general, who had fought alongside him in Gaul and other conflict, would naturally succeed. But instead, his grandnephew, Octavius Augustus, came to power. And Mark Antony left Rome and went to Egypt, and also fell in love with Cleopatra. Augusta ran a propaganda campaign, a leaflet, calling Cleopatra the whore of the East. Eventually, they went to blows. Augusta defeated Cleopatra and her army, along with Mark Antony, at the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. Octavius Augustus now becomes the ruler of Rome. But instead of establishing the republic, he established a constitutional monarchy. Now, this will lead to what we call the development of the empire, the early empire. And of course, during the age of Octavius Augustus, something occurs in Palestine that changes everything. But that's what we're going to talk about next week. The birth of Christ and the Roman Empire, which will go on until 476 AD, before it is overran by barbarics from the north, the Germanic tribes. I don't know what else I can tell you about this period, but now we're finally about to make it to zero. We're leaving BCE and we're moving to AD, Anno Domini, the year of the Lord. But the Romans had left their idea of a republic, and as I told you, the founders of this country took this example and used it to establish the United States of America. Now, what else do I need to tell you about the Romans? Well, we'll continue after we have test 2, which will be scheduled for October the 6th on Tuesday. I will load this lecture and the study guide and the PowerPoint slide. Study the study guide and take the test next Tuesday, October the 6th. As you know from test 1, the study guide is the key to passing all tests that I give. It's easy and simple, so make sure you focus on the study guide. And also, the only assignment you have in this class is one 5-page research paper, which is due before the end of the semester. You will have 5 grades, 4 tests, and a research paper, and the average will produce your final semester grade. If you have any questions, contact me and we will verify or clarify any question you may have. Be blessed and stay safe. Caver out.